Chapter 2 Club is the smart woman's guide to divorce and everything after. On this podcast, we'll help you write your next chapter. Hello, and welcome to the Chapter 2 Club podcast. Today is the second in our series, Dating After Divorce, Modern Dating Strategies for Women. We are excited to have our dating expert back again, Cassie Zampakine. She's a renowned dating and relationship strategist, author, speaker, and coach. She's a leading expert in the industry and is founder and CEO of Innovative Match, a national relationship services firm. Cassie is the author of the book Finding Love After 50 and of the syndicated Ask Cass blog. Welcome back, Cassie.
Nice to be here.
So today what we're going to talk about is online dating, what it is and how to get good at it. This is an overview, and in our next episode, we're going to get into the real details, the nitty-gritty of how to create a stellar online dating profile. But today, we're going to kind of give you a lay of the land, how to approach it, what you need to know about the sites, and everything else. So, Cassie, can you start out by telling us, you were a matchmaker, so why are you now such an advocate of online dating?
So that's a good story for me to tell, and I talk about it in my book, but this is really how it all came down to why I believe online dating is the best place for singles, especially divorced and widowed. This is my story. I started out as a matchmaker in my 20s when there wasn't even an industry, and I watched the very quick, it caught on fire, matchmaking firms, right? There was nothing like it, and then all of a sudden, it just became an industry that boomed quickly. And what I noticed, the primary demographic that signed up for matchmakers were women that were divorced over 40. And the reason why, there's a few reasons. One, they could financially afford the fee. Two, they were primarily educated and looking for like-minded men. They wanted confidentiality. They wanted to feel that somebody was taking over their dating life and making it easy and presenting them with dates, right? So I did that for a long time, 19 years, somewhere around there. In 2008, matchmakers nationwide were suffering from the lack of men that applied or paid for matchmakers. So there was a discrepancy, too many women and not enough men for matches. I was asked to bring in men. They called me the man hunter. At one Christmas party, they presented me with a bow and arrow. I'm like, you guys, that is hilarious. They just said, because I have family in the East Coast, I've got family in San Francisco, family in LA, I have a wide network myself. And I thought, okay, I'm going to bring in men. And how am I going to do that? So it became my job to go out and find men.
Cassie Zampakine, manhunter.
And I'm married too, so it was kind of funny. I told my husband, he's like, okay, whatever you need to do. So what I realized is after I tapped into my network, I thought, I've got to find men in other places like Chicago, like Florida, places where I didn't have a big network. And what did I do? I sat down one morning, it was 2008, and I said, I'm going to go on Match.com. I'm going to find a single friend of mine, and I'm going to put her on Match.com. And by the way, in 2008, it was like talking about a bad rash. Nobody wanted to talk about online dating. Match.com was like, ew. Nobody wanted to admit that they were on it. They didn't feel like it was the right place to go, and it just wasn't where it is today. So I went online in 2008. And I have to tell you, I studied it from 2008 to 2010, every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturdays, and read over 100 profiles a day. And I was overwhelmed at not just the quality of people, but the courage. We talked about this in my first podcast about the courage and getting out there again and exposing yourself, putting your profile up, putting your photo up. And when I read nationwide these profiles, I was so inspired. And I could not believe that all these people were out there. And from that moment on, I said, this is a gift for singles. This is amazing. And so I'm a huge advocate of it, just because not only is it a place for you to meet somebody for a relationship, but it's there to open up your world and meet people that you would not meet on your own. And it's expanding your social network. It's having courage inside of yourself to say, I'm going to put myself out there. One of the things that's so important to me, Mary Beth, is to always back up my work with studies, right? Because I do a lot of studies, like I did with a health and human connection and my belief about that. But let me tell you about the Pew Research. I'm going to give you 2 statistics about online dating. I'm going to read it to you. The Pew Research Center found that Americans' attitudes towards online dating shifted significantly over an 8-year period, starting in 2005, when it first began studying online dating habits. In 2005, 44% of respondents felt that online dating was a good way to meet people. By 2013, that number had grown to 59%. That's one of them. And here's the second one. Okay, this is great too. Pew Research again. This is what it says. For instance, 79% of people who use online dating sites said that online dating is a good way to meet people, while 70% responded that the wide range of potential dates means better chances for a romantic match. So what that tells me, right, this is a great way to meet people. When you have numbers on your side, matchmakers don't have the numbers. Online dating, they have the numbers on your side. All you have to learn to do is take the ocean and create your pond. And when you learn to do that, like I said in our first podcast about identifying where you are in your life, applying your date smart strategies, then you go from that and then you go into online dating. But it has to start from that framework first.
I think the pool of men there is larger than my produce section at my local grocery store, because I've hung out there a little bit just hoping to run into Mr. Right, and Mr. Right and I clearly shop at different times of day.
Well, it's really funny that you bring the grocery store. Just on a side note, I had a client that I was working with. We found somebody online that she's actually getting married to. They're both divorced, and they shopped at the same grocery store and never met each other.
What?
Yes. They shopped at the same grocery store in this town where I live in, and they never came across each other. She went online, he went online, they never knew each other, they met each other, and they're getting married.
That sounds like that could be one of those little vignettes in When Harry Met Sally, where the couple comes on, I was shopping at the Jewel. I was shopping at the Jewel. I was there at night. I was there in the morning. Never met, never met.
So funny. I cannot tell you how many times I get phone calls after a date and saying, do you know that I met he or she last night and they're friends with so-and-so? The connection, the way we're connected in this world today is unbelievable. It's so surprising. Like I said, if you apply your date smart strategies into your online dating profile, you will meet people that are like-minded, that you really like, that there's a lot of commonalities, shared interests. We just don't know about that chemistry. But if you do it right, you will not be disappointed.
Okay, so for the people that maybe are a little nervous about online dating or saying that is not a natural way to meet the person of your dreams, what do you say to them?
You know, okay, so it's not the natural way where maybe you met your ex-husband or I've met my husband or whatever it is. You know, you meet people when our world is a lot larger. So as we get older, our world becomes smaller, right? So if you're divorced, your friends are either married or, you know, you're working, you're busy in your life, you're not meeting people the way you used to when you were younger and you weren't so tethered, right, to all the things that you have going on in your life. And is online dating, you know, natural? No, but it's like an electronic cocktail party, right? You got to look at it like that. You have to kind of look at it like that. It's like, what in life right now is really that natural as we get older? I mean, you've got the impact of technology that's changed our lives. Years ago, you Google my name, I wouldn't even come up, right? There was no tweeting. There was none of this. Life changes. So what somebody feels is the natural way, now, the natural way is to go online. And the Pew Research and studies have shown that. All you have to do is just look at what the studies have shown in the growth of online dating. And I'm telling you, as foreign as this sounds, online dating is now the natural way.
Okay, and there are all these online dating sites out there, right? I mean, there's clearly Match.com as a base. You've got eHarmony, you've got OkCupid, and then you've got specific ones like JDate, and you've got Bumble. Then there's Tinder. I don't even know what to say about Tinder. And then even ones that are about meet mindful, and a lot of these ones that are really specific to a core interest or passion or lifestyle that somebody may have. What about all that? Do you just put profiles across a ton of those? Which ones do you pick? How do you even know where to start?
My go-to site is Match.com. I've had the most success on Match. And Match nationwide is the number one site. Okay, it's the largest and it's scary. And we could get into how to operate Match in a way that you're comfortable. But right now, let me tell you about the other site. So let's talk about OkCupid. So in California, OkCupid is very strong. It's a great site. I have not noticed that OkCupid is a great site out on the East Coast yet. I don't think it's penetrated that area yet. It is under the same ownership as Match.com. It's a complimentary site. It's a free site. You know, there are add-ons, but it is a good site out here in the West Coast. I am a fan of JDate. JDate is a smaller niche site for people that are practicing Jewish or are Jewish and looking to meet somebody that's Jewish. That's a good site, particularly in the East Coast, I've noticed. Meet Mindful is a great site. Actually, it's funny that you brought that one up because that's a very good site. I've had a lot of success off of that. Christian Mingles. But how do you choose that site? So what do? I always say, I want you to try Match.com. Tell you how to do it where you're comfortable, and then let's choose another complimentary site. And that's something that's very specific to your needs, whether it's JDate, Christian Mingles, Meet Mindful, IvyLeague.com. You know, there's specific passion, hiking. What's happened in this dating industry and the online dating sites and where, you know, every single day there's new stuff that are being developed. There are a lot of niche sites for clients out there for people that want to try. You know, there's divorce.com. I mean, there's so many things. If you're passionate about golf or you want to meet somebody that skis, go on these little sites, but then always go on Match.com.
So it's the old one too. You take the big one and then you take one that's focused more on an interest or passion or lifestyle area.
Yes.
Okay. And then how does it work? Tell us a little bit, or if you were going to pick Match.com, since that's one that you're recommending we all go on. I know there are differences in how much of your profile you show, lots of other things like that. Tell us a little bit about that.
So when somebody says, I want to go online, you know, obviously there's a little bit of fear behind it and how to do it. So what I suggest is first you go on and kind of search around a little bit without even being a member and take a look at some of those profiles, right? Be very careful not to talk to your friends a lot about it because everybody comes to, you know, their own feeling and their own what they felt about the site, and not all of it is positive. So you want to go into it, just like I said, embrace that fresh perspective and get out there and do it. And so you want to go on the site. And another big concern with it is exposure. You know, my name, I don't want my name on it. People have this idea that their name is on their profile. Your name is nowhere on that profile unless you write it as your handle. You put your name up there, Cassie Kime or whatever. Obviously, they're going to know who I am. So there is a lot of privacy behind using online sites when you don't expose a lot of yourself, right? But however, if you want good results, you want to be out there. But for those who are not sure, last year Match.com came out with a wonderful add-on, and it's called the private mode. So what the private mode does is it allows you to go on Match where you're private, where nobody sees you unless you reach out to that person. When you reach out to that person, they are the only ones that could see your profile. What Match.com did, which I think is incredibly brilliant, it's like a hybrid between online dating and a matchmaker. Because people go to matchmakers, one of the reasons why is because they want the confidentiality aspect of dating. They don't want to be out there. Online dating pushes you to be out there, right? Exposing yourself, which can be very scary. The private mode is a great opportunity to start. Because what people do is they put their profiles up, they don't spend time on it, and they don't put a photo up. You're never going to get anywhere with that. So you've got to figure out exactly how you want to start, whether you've just your toe, you're just dipping that in and saying, I want to give it a try. So that's how I would suggest doing it if you're worried that someone's going to see you. And those fears, Mary Beth, are real. People don't want to be exposed out there. They're very private, and it's scary. So again, Using that private mode on Match.com is a great way to start.
Okay. And what if you're ready to dip in there a little bit more than that?
So what you want to do is you want to, again, I keep going back to this as you learn your own individualized strategy, your plan. And that goes back into dating smart and figuring out who you are, where you are in your life, and identifying that right partner and understanding your lifestyle today. When you get that written down and you're clear about that, then you start writing that profile. You need to be 100% clear on that profile, what you're looking for. Now, not everybody knows right away, but you certainly know some things about yourself that you know are non-negotiables. So you want to try to write that profile. And again, we'll get into that in the next series about that profile. But writing that profile and getting that right photo up, very important. After that, you want to be proactive on the site. What I always suggest is when you first get your profile up, you put it up, and then give it about 5 days where you accumulate the views, the favorites, the likes, and who emails you. If 80% or 85% of the incoming emails that you are getting are completely not your type, you need to redo your profile. You should be receiving emails or interests exactly pretty much what you're looking for. And it might not be the physical attributes. I mean, people look at the photos, they skim through those profiles, but you really have to take your time to look at those things. But if 80 to 85% of the inbound interest or emails are not your type, redo your profile. There's something in there that you have to work on. Either that's the photos or how you're coming across. People hire me to redo those profiles, and immediately there's change.
That's a great tip. And then during that time, when you talk about giving it the 5 days, are you not responding to any of these people? Or are you just kind of taking it all in, seeing what you get?
People get very excited, okay? So here's the other thing. Be careful when you go on online dating sites. It's like a kid in a candy store. They run in there. They're like all excited.
All that man candy.
Exactly. They're looking, wow, look at all this. Like, well, this is exciting and fun. But here's the thing. It could be also very disappointing. And I've had people call me and say, yuck, I don't even want to see anybody, right? So you have to be very careful that you go into this methodically and you go into it saying, all right, it is exciting and fun, because it is exciting to see all these people that you can't believe that are on these sites. You can't go into it 100% full bore, and then there's that online dating burnout. So you have to find like your middle ground. So you get your profile up. And you kind of let it be. If you don't want to do 5 days, fine. If it's a Thursday, give it to a Sunday. If it's a Wednesday, give it to a Saturday, right? 3 to 5 days, and see what's accumulated. And you go from there.
Okay. And then at that point, that's when you would decide, hey, maybe my profile needs some adjusting.
Right, exactly. You need some adjusting. There's a lot of information online on how to make those adjustments, or hand it to your friend and say, what do you think? Right? Because sometimes we write about ourselves, or how you write a profile, or the photos that you choose. We go into it based on our own feelings of who we are. And oftentimes friends and trusted people in your life will give you that other perspective. And it's important. It's like your profile is your first date. Okay, imagine that. When somebody walks in the door to a party, to an event, to a grocery store, to Starbucks, anywhere, what do you look at when you first see that person? Is it their smile? Is it how they dress? How they carry themselves? That first look is critical. That's how you have to go into online dating. My profile is my first date. It's the first thing that you see about me. And who am I today? That's really important. They don't know you. They're just reading something and looking at your profile. Your profile and photos are very important. And you want to represent who you are today. Very important. And that goes again with accepting where you are.
So you're saying I shouldn't use my college photo?
No way. No, it's funny they talk about that because, one of the things that I lecture on, I talk a lot about, is embracing who you are today. Really hard. And that goes to the question, would you date yourself? What is it about myself that I like and I don't? And for women, oftentimes it's physical attributes. many, many times. It's very hard to get yourself in a photo when you don't like how you look.
I've always been a fan of gravity because it keeps us on the planet, but as I'm getting older, I'm a little more ambivalent about the effects of gravity.
Aren't we all? So fast forward, you have an old photo of yourself and you're going to meet John. And you go and you meet John for a glass of wine and you walk in the door and you look very different. The facial expression that he has and that feeling is so not worth it. That's where the other components of disappointment when it comes to dating. And you know what? I always say, put your best photo up, get a photographer, have your friend take a great photo, but represent who you are today. Sure, online dating has, it spawns off into different, people lie about their age and their height and their income. Yes, there are people out there that do that. But fortunately for today, because of all of the social media and the exposure we have, you can find out who that person is pretty easily. Facebook, LinkedIn, so you can verify photos. So just the best thing for you to do is just represent who you are today and bring your best self to that table and your best self to that online dating profile.
You talked a little bit about this before, but I'm hoping you can expound on it a little bit because it's a statement that I have made and I have heard other women make, which is there are no good men online.
Oh, yes. I get that question and I get the men don't want to date anybody my age. They want younger. The first question about no good men out there, let's talk about that because that is a myth. And again, I'll go back into my personal experience. And my personal experience of going online and working with very upscale matchmakers, not just one, I consulted for a few, okay? East Coast, West Coast, very involved in the industry on the matchmaking side for a very long time. And the women that have signed up for those expensive matchmakers, right, they're looking for men that have a higher income bracket, high education, and sophistication. I get world travelers, all those attributes that women are looking for in meeting in men that sign up for the matchmakers, right? So that's what they want. Those men are online. Men want to use online sites because they want the photos and they want the autonomy to choose who they want to date. And yes, they may go online to troll or to look. Sure, women do the same. But the beauty of online dating sites creates opportunity for men to do it themselves, to choose who they want to date, and to put themselves out there, and that's what they want. They want the photos of women. Remember, matchmakers don't necessarily send photos out. They might have changed that, but that's how it used to be, and a lot of times that's still the case today. So what I found since 2008 until today, so we're almost 10 years now, right? I have seen incredible men online, highly educated CEOs, entrepreneurs, people that are very well known. They just put themselves out there because that's where they want to be. So if anybody listening right now feels that there's no good men out there, I'm here to tell you, don't let that hold you back because that is an excuse.
What about the biggest mistakes people make with their online dating profiles? What's happening in terms of writing your profile, reading profiles? Give us some advice on that.
Okay, so and again, we'll touch upon that in the next series about writing that stellar online profile and how to do it. But here's just the basics. Again, you want to identify yourself, start from the beginning, who you are, what you want, where you are in your life. Write that profile, put time into it, get that right, current, great photo of yourself. When you go online, it's not a short race. It's a marathon. Marathon mindset. It's going to take time. Don't go into it wanting the quick results. I want to go on and off. You can't go into it like that. Set the right perspective and the right expectation of online. One of the biggest mistakes men and women make is they never read the full profile. Every single day I get calls for me to look at a handle of somebody and they say, I really like this person. I want to reach out to this person. What are your thoughts? I get on the phone and I said, did you read the whole profile? Did you see that he wants to have kids? Do you see that he has kids living at home? Do you see that he wants to date a different ethnicity? Do you see his religion? Do you see his politics? People don't read the whole profile. All the information you need should be right there. And if somebody has a great photo up, but not a lot of information, just be careful about that because you don't want to waste time. You want to use your time wisely. So read that whole profile.
If a guy has a great photo, he looks like someone you'd be attracted to, he's got a little bit of the write-up, but he hasn't filled out anything else. What do you do with that?
All that looks good. You can reach out and you want to ask questions. Now, here's the funny thing about emailing with online dating sites. I don't like email dating. I don't like text dating. I'm very clear about what my expectations are for the way you use online dating, my rules, the do's and the don'ts. So when you have a situation like that, you do want to start an email dialogue, and I'll give you an example. Just yesterday, I went online and I was helping my client navigating the site yesterday, and a man emailed her. He lived about an hour and a half away in an area that wasn't so desirable for her. And I liked him, and I said, you know what? I'm going to ask some questions as to why he's chosen to live there. He's highly educated, PhD, he's a writer, he's good looking, he's had kids, liberal politics, just like she wanted. Everything worked except the area. And so when I emailed him on her behalf and asked these questions, taught her how to do it, you know, he emailed her back within an hour and said, I live here, gave the reasons. I'm in your area, which is Los Angeles, 3 days a week to go to my office. If I had blown him off based on certain things, they would never be in contact. I gave out the phone number, called her right away last night. I got a text this morning that he is fantastic and they're going to meet this week. What I'm trying to say with that story as an example, that if the profile looks good, but there are some questions that you have, ask them.
That's what you use email for.
That's what you only use email for. You email and you ask the questions that are make it or break it. You just ask those questions, and if everything looks good, ask them, and you will get your answer, and you can make a decision from there what you want to do.
What about who should contact who? So I have a lot of friends, there's been a lot of discussion about that thing online of, you know, between favoriting and there's like winking and there's sending a message and all these things. Or do you just put yourself out there and see who comes to you? You know, I have friends who've done it all sorts of different ways. What's your advice on that?
You want to be proactive in the process. I don't believe in life that you should just let it happen. I think you should make it happen. And what I mean by that is emailing and being a part of that process is very important. It's difficult sometimes as women to be the one that sends that first email out. I'm not a fan of the favorites and the likes. I think that's just a kind of a waste of time. I think if a man really wants to date you, he's going to reach out. Just like he would if you're at a party or an event. So the kind of man that you want to date that's really looking for somebody is going to walk over to you and introduce himself. There's absolutely no different than the way it is online, the electronic cocktail party. He should send you an email. Now, oftentimes what I do is when I have my clients go out and search and they view a profile, my suggestion is don't reach out yet. Give it a couple days because he sees that you viewed him. Let him see if he comes to you first. That's one suggestion. The other suggestion is you send out a very simple email. You don't send out some email that is long or, you know, asking questions back and forth. My suggestion is to just say something like, I've noticed your profile. I want to reach out. I like that you know, whatever it is, that you're family oriented, that you've got kids. You seem like a sincere, great person. You know, I love my family too. Whatever it is that resonates with his profile, you want to bring out. But all you simply say is, I'd love to connect with you. Don't start the email questions back and forth, maybe one or two. You know, you want to be able to move the process along. If a guy's interested in you, he's going to email back and say, let's connect on the phone. And that's the kind of guy you want. You know, what I say a lot about online dating sites, how do you humanize the process? And how you humanize it is you get off the computer and you get on the phone. Have him call you, whether you reach out or not. You could turn that around. If you give out your phone number and he picks up the phone and calls you, you just did it right then and there. You turned it around.
If you're a good writer, he's a good writer, you get into this sort of witty online banter. And then when you actually talk to the person on the phone or you meet them in person, there's no connection. But you've gone down this road where you've had a lot of back and forth, and that's not really what it's about.
No, and that creates the disappointment component to dating right there and online dating. When you go back and forth and you email and you feel like there's a connection and it's fun, and then you've decided that you're going to meet, oftentimes you meet that person and they're very different in person. And then you walk away feeling disappointed because you've pumped yourself up for the excitement of meeting John, right? Because you have this great email rapport. That's a mistake. So instead of emailing back and forth, what you want to do is if you want to send a few emails, I think that's great. But then give him your phone number. Let's see if he calls. You could tell how serious he is if he picks up the phone and calls. The other thing about women, men too, but primarily women, we're very intuitive. If we listen to ourselves, we're usually right.
The big operating word there is if we listen.
I have debates about whether you should speak to somebody on the phone or just go out and meet them. I never would suggest going out and just meeting somebody without speaking to them on the phone, and here's why. Not only do we have an internal voice and our gut tells us if it feels right or not, you can verify certain things, the validity of a profile. Print that profile out because you don't know when he's going to call, and you have that profile or really know the profile and say, verify that. Oh, so you've got kids or they live away or you went to this school or what do you do? And verify it. So before you go out and meet him, make sure that you feel good about it. You verified a lot of that profile if it was true. And how he talks about his family, his ex, his whatever it is, you could get that feeling right away. And do it before you set up a date. Don't waste your time.
In our next podcast, we are going to talk a little bit about creating that online profile. So I don't want to get into any questions about that, even though I have a lot. Is there anything you want to leave our listeners with?
When you want to get started with online dating, you're thinking about it, go into it slowly if that feels comfortable for you. And be very careful for negative feedback regarding online. Again, when you don't do it right, you're going to be disappointed. And there's many, many people that use online dating. It has millions of people. So you're going to come across profiles that don't feel good, or that you would never date that person. And that person may email you, or you may get some email that really throws you off. You have to have that tougher skin. You have to say to yourself, at the end of the day, this is what I should be doing. I want to open myself up and meet somebody. And just remember, when you go back and you say, this is not the natural way of meeting somebody, it is now. Welcome to the 21st century of dating. Online dating sites is, to me, the biggest gift for singles out there today. I've had so much success with using sites, particularly Match.com. I'm a huge fan of it, and I'm a huge fan of online dating. I think it's an incredible avenue, opportunity to go to. Embrace that fresh, new perspective. This is where you are today, where you're supposed to be. And if you believe in that, you're going to come from a solid place. And online dating sites is a great opportunity for singles.
Wow, there you go. Cassie, thank you so much. And of course, as I said, I have a lot to ask you. I have a lot to discuss in our next podcast, but thank you so much for this overview. Tune in next time and we'll talk about how to create that stellar online dating profile.